My name is Eric, I'm 29, and until last year I believed I knew the true meaning of family. Not the polished, sentimental kind you see in greeting cards, but the deep, enduring bond that shapes your entire existence, even when it demands you shoulder more than your fair share. I've always been the reserved one, the dependable son, the person who remembers, to send gifts on special days and steps in to handle problems when no one else acknowledges they exist. But I never imagined I'd become the foundation for a family that repeatedly made me feel replaceable. That realization crept in gradually, almost unnoticed, like hidden damage beneath the surface that only reveals itself when everything collapses. Growing up, I was the middle child. My older brother, Adam, was the star, captain of the football team. Charismatic, always surrounded by friends. My younger sister, Mia, was treated like royalty from the day she arrived. And me, I was the kid with solid but unremarkable grades, constantly reminded that I wasn't reaching my full potential. It didn't bother me much. I stayed focused. Earned a scholarship, left home, and eventually launched my own small tech company. Against all odds, after 3 exhausting years of living frugally, working endless hours, and facing rejection from every potential investor, it finally succeeded. The ironic part is, during those tough early days, my family stayed distant. But once the business started generating real income, suddenly I mattered again. It began with minor requests. My father asked if I could cover the remaining payments on Adam's vehicle, just temporarily until his next raise. Then came Mia's expensive university fees, since the aid package fell short. My mother mentioned the urgent roof replacement. After that, the furnace upgrade. Soon enough, the full kitchen renovation she'd always wanted. Before I knew it, I was supporting 3 separate households while still receiving casual messages, asking for quick transfers to cover everyday expenses. At first, I didn't resent it. I felt fortunate to be in a position to assist. I even told myself I was creating something meaningful, perhaps a lasting contribution. I imagined that someday I'd look back proudly, knowing I'd improved the lives of those closest to me. But the way they accepted it, as if it were their right, as if my efforts were ordinary, began to wear on me deeply. Last Thanksgiving marked the shift. I offered to host not to flaunt my success, but because my place was finally spacious enough for everyone. I arranged professional catering, tidied everything, and even prepared an outdoor fire area. No one volunteered to help, not even with clearing the table afterward. Midway through the meal, Adam raised a glass, speaking warmly about our good fortune in having one another, and how relatives always support each other, without ever acknowledging that I'd funded the entire event. Mia arrived with her boyfriend and spent most of the time glued to her screen. My father dominated the conversation, reminiscing about how much harder life was in his generation and how the younger ones had it too easy. I endured it all with a forced smile. Internally, though, I was already withdrawing. The breaking point came a couple of months later, on an ordinary weekday evening. I'd just wrapped up a demanding client call and returned home to find a voicemail from my father. His tone was curt, weary, and edged with that familiar parental authority. He said, "All you've ever done is take from us. You've never contributed anything meaningful to this family. If you had any self-respect, you'd stop pretending we're indebted to you and simply disappear." It hit me like a shock. For a moment, I wondered if I'd misheard. I replayed it. "All you've ever done is take." I didn't shout or return the call. I simply sat there staring at the screen, then moved to the window and gazed at the city skyline I'd once found inspiring. Something inside me quietly shattered, like a worn-out mechanism finally giving way. That same night, I packed a suitcase and left. No heated farewell, no public declaration. I quietly instructed my assistant to halt all automatic transfers linked to family expenses. Just a clean, understated separation. Days passed. Then a full week, complete quiet from their side. No inquiries, no messages. It took nearly a month for them to realize something had changed. Mia reached out first, calling late on a Friday, her voice unsteady. "Eric, hi. I checked the student portal, and this month's tuition payment didn't process. Is there an issue with the linked account?" I could sense the anxiety she was trying to mask behind that forced nonchalance. I sent a single text in response. I thought I'd never contributed anything to this family. Nothing more. No details. Just that line. She went silent. But soon after, my phone showed multiple missed calls from my mother. several from Adam, and one unknown number. My father's voicemail was bitterly amusing. "Eric, this needs to be discussed. Whatever game you're playing isn't amusing. Your sister's education is at risk." Still no remorse. Only expectations. That same commanding voice implying obligation. That weekend, I booked a flight to Denver. I'd never visited, but it felt distant enough to provide real escape. I rented a modest Airbnb with mountain views. I slept more soundly than I had in ages. For the first time in forever, I ignored my inbox and notifications entirely. I allowed life to continue without my constant involvement. Back home, the consequences began to mount. Mia received a warning about possible withdrawal from classes due to unpaid fees. Adam's vehicle, still financed through me, was taken back by the lender. My parents' home loan payment failed. Suddenly, the structure they'd relied on without question started to crumble. They began contacting relatives, sharing their side, how I'd suddenly severed ties and shirked my duties without warning. But narratives can't be fully rewritten when others have witnessed the reality. A few cousins understood. They'd observed the dynamic for years. One of them, Emma, my mother's niece, messaged me. "I've always respected your patience, but I'm relieved you finally stopped. Being their fallback option." Her words affected me more than anticipated. Because truthfully, I wasn't seeking payback. I craved tranquility. I extended my Denver stay, starting each day with a walk to a nearby cafe, writing in a notebook, then exploring the city center to experience unbroken calm. No constant alerts, no duties, no one requesting yet another quick favor. It felt unfamiliar at first, this absence of tension, as if I had to retrain myself not to anticipate others' letdowns. In the second week, I drove to Boulder, rented a vehicle, and hiked solo, something I'd long wanted but always postponed because family crises intervened. Faulty appliances, overdue bills. Once, Mia phoned from a beach vacation, claiming she'd misplaced her wallet and needed immediate funds transferred. That recollection surfaced as I reached a trail overlook, wind whipping around me. The vast landscape spread out below. I laughed freely, the sound bouncing off the surroundings. It was 3 weeks before my mother attempted genuine contact, beyond veiled accusations and messages. She sent an email titled, "We need you to return home." No warm opening. Just a lengthy paragraph beginning with confusion about my behavior, escalating to my father's anger, listing sacrifices they'd made for me, and concluding that relatives don't desert one another. I read it repeatedly. Relatives don't desert one another, yet they had. Whenever they reduced me to a financial resource with emotions, forgotten birthdays, accepted assistance without gratitude, holidays where I faded into the background while Adam held court and Mia received attention. They never labeled it desertion. They saw it as normal. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded it to my attorney, Daniel, who'd previously assisted with estate planning. I directed him to redirect remaining education funds to scholarships for underrepresented students, those truly in need, who wouldn't mock the supporter privately. I also asked him to verify ownership documents for the vacation property, the lakeside home my parents enjoyed annually, fully purchased by me under the understanding it would be collective family asset. My name remained sole owner. That weekend, I flew back, not for reconciliation or submission, but to gather evidence. I arrived unannounced midday, rented a car, and headed directly to the family home, the one I'd helped restore when water damage threatened its sale. It appeared unchanged, comforting yet artificial, like a staged set. Adam's battered truck sat in the drive. I assumed he'd returned after losing his car. I entered using the duplicate key my mother hadn't recalled giving me. From the hallway, I overheard conversation. "He's overreacting," Adam insisted. "He'll come around once his tantrum ends," Mia added softly. "I don't understand why he's acting this way." "It's not like the money matters that much to him, right?" My father muttered agreement, then clearly, "Eric's always been the softest. Sitting behind screens, thinking wealth elevates him." I remained hidden, listening as they criticized the very person keeping their lives stable. No tears, no outburst, just validation. They never truly recognized me. I retreated silently and drove to the lake property. I entered, surveyed the spacious layout, noted the display of family pictures excluding any of mine, and photographed everything for listing purposes. By evening, Daniel had the necessary documents to proceed with sale. That was Saturday. Monday, I posted in the family group. You claimed I never contributed anything. So I'm granting what you've always implied you preferred, separation. No further tuition support. No vehicle payments. No home repairs. Handle your own past. I'm done. I exited the chat and blocked everyone. I assumed closure, unaware how entangled their reliance had become and how rapidly it would collapse. Without my input, soon Mia risked academic dismissal. Adam lost his job amid distractions. My parents faced banking inquiries over unaffordable loans. Meanwhile, I was en route to the airport for another journey. This time, Japan. Upgraded seat unburdened. The highlight arrived mid-flight over the ocean. When connectivity returned and notifications flooded in, countless missed calls, messages from unfamiliar contacts, likely Mia's acquaintances attempting mediation, texts from my father shifting from accusations to fragmented pleas. We didn't intend it that way. And you're still our child. That one amused me. I ignored every voicemail and attachment, observing the alerts accumulate like evidence of their distress. It's revealing how those declaring, "You've never," contributed abruptly recall precise amounts once the flow ceases. Japan provided exactly what I sought: orderly, serene, unrecognizable. I explored shrines and vibrant gaming districts, allowing my thoughts freedom I'd never known. No remorse anchoring me, no unexpected demands. For the first time, I existed independently, not as contingency, not as resolver. After 2 weeks, I unblocked only Emma. She'd sent one supportive note, no pressure, just availability to hear me out. Upon return, we met at a local cafe. She opened her laptop. "There's something you should see." It was an online forum post from Mia, anonymous, seeking donations for school after a sudden family crisis. She portrayed me as erratic, claiming I'd severed ties inexplicably and was unstable. Contributions were coming in from outsiders. Emma watched my reaction. She's collected nearly 6,000. I felt a pang, not fury, but sorrow. The narrative reshaped again for sympathy, this time publicly profiting from it. That evening I avoided direct confrontation. Instead, I compiled proof, transaction records, tuition confirmations, extra book allowances, and created a private gallery. No identifiers, minimal text, then added a neutral comment. Before contributing, consider inquiring about the prior $90,000 in support. Some overlook sources when assistance ends. It didn't explode online, but moderators soon removed the post amid doubts and opinions shifted. That marked their first tangible repercussion. The next arrived via formal mail to my workplace, from my father. Typed formally, requesting discussion of family relational breakdown. Amid the stiff language lay the motive: claim on lake property sale funds, citing sentimental attachment. I handed it to Daniel. He grinned. "Shall I remind them sentiment isn't legally binding?" We went further, enclosing the signed original document where my father waived rights, acknowledging sole ownership. Silence followed briefly. It broke when news spread of the primary residence listing. During my absence, Daniel and I had documented an old unsecured loan for their mortgage shortfalls. With compiled records, we placed a lien exceeding $80,000, enabling forced sale. Emma phoned. "They're frantic. Your mother cried to mine. Your father mentions public exposure." I replied, "Let him try. I have documentation." But my intent had evolved. Not retribution, but finality. They'd misinterpreted generosity as fragility, viewing me as an endless resource, now experiencing genuine need. The peak moment arrived on auction day for the childhood home. I arrived early, parking nearby, observing the familiar street and crisp autumn air. A sign announced the event: foreclosure auction, no entry. I entered legally with Daniel and the official. "You aren't required here," he noted kindly. "I choose to be, not for drama, but acknowledgement. This chapter needed witnessing." I toured slowly, dents from past mishaps, stains from old incidents wrongly attributed to me, walls,